Welcome everyone, and I also know that there's several candidates here, and thank you for that as well. I am Bobby Regan, a City Club Governor, co-chair of the City Club's Programming Committee, and producer of today's program. Welcome to our District 2 Multnomah County Commission debate featuring candidates Shannon Singleton and Sam Adams. Before we begin, I ask everyone to please silence your phones. For more than 100 years, Portland City Club has hosted nonpartisan public forums, debates, and research to help Portlanders make informed decisions around elections and public policy. City Club is committed to providing space for people to gather and engage in civic dialogue to enhance respectful discussion and positive change. Members make City Club run by providing the ideas, leading the conversations, doing the research, and planning the programs that address issues important to our local community. To support our mission and participate directly in City Club's work, become a member today, please. Visit pdxcityclub.org/membership and let us know how you'd like to engage. We welcome you to our public square and thank you for your support. Thanks today to Sam Metz, co-chair of the City Club's Programming Committee, and Kayla Kennett, City Club's Communications Manager, for their help with this program. Thanks also to Carla Kelly for her help with timekeeping, and a special thanks tonight to AARP, our season sponsor. We are so grateful for their support. For those here in person tonight, we have a photographer at tonight's event. If you do not want your image being used in City Club marketing, please let us know. And now, please mark your calendars for several upcoming City Club events. Join us for a Portland mayoral debate on Tuesday, October 8th at 5:30 at the First Congregational Church in downtown Portland. That debate will feature the 5 mayoral candidates who have qualified for public financing and will be moderated by Jeff Mapes, former political journalist with the Oregonian and Oregon Public Broadcasting. On Wednesday, October 16th at 6 p.m., we'll host a program featuring retiring longtime Congressman Earl Blumenauer, sharing reflections on his long and esteemed career. That event will take place in the Albina neighborhood. Also in mid-October, we will record a State Attorney General debate at Coyne Studios, moderated by Ken Bodie, Coyne's political director and morning anchor. That program will be aired by Coyne at 7 p.m. on October 16th and will be available on demand as well. And if that's not enough, we're also working on a possible Congressional District 6 candidate forum. More to come on that. Now to tonight's program. Today, more than 800,000 people call Multnomah County home. The Multnomah County Commission, made up of the chair and 4 commissioners, oversees a budget of nearly $4 billion and more than 5,500 employees. The county provides safety net services for seniors, those who are homeless, and those who are disabled. It also oversees assessment and taxation, community justice, courts, elections, animal services, bridges, health services, jails, libraries, marriage licenses and passports, and school and community partnerships. But there's more. The county also oversees the budgets for the Multnomah County Sheriff, District Attorney, and Auditor, all of whom are independently elected, so it's a big job. That has not scared away great candidates vying for 2 open Multnomah County Commission seats. Tonight's program features candidates for the County Commission seat representing District 2, which covers North and Northeast Portland. Shannon Singleton and Sam Adams will tell us a little about themselves in their opening remarks. Thank you both for running and sharing your evening with us. Our program tonight is moderated by Anthony Effinger, a journalist with Willamette Week. Anthony worked at Bloomberg News for 24 years before joining Willamette Week in 2016. Anthony writes about Multnomah County, so he's a perfect moderator for tonight's program. He has not endorsed either candidate. For tonight's rules of engagement, each candidate will be given 2 minutes for introductory remarks. Our moderator will then pose questions and allow each candidate 2 minutes to respond. If Anthony chooses to do a follow-up question, candidates will have 1 minute to respond. Anthony plans to include a lightning round or two. Candidates are asked to respond with a word or a sentence in 20 seconds or less. Anthony will rotate which candidates answer first. If a candidate chooses to respond to or challenge something said by their opponent, please do so during your next response. Candidates will be able to see how much time they have left for each question, and our timekeepers are here. We ask candidates to be respectful of time limits. Thank you to those of you who submitted questions as you registered for the program. Anthony has incorporated themes from these questions into his own. In addition, we will have a short audience Q&A session toward the end of the program. We will likely only get to about 3 questions, just so you know. For this, we ask audience members to come right here to the front of the room and to ask your question in 30 seconds or less. We are not looking for statements or commentary, just your question. Candidates, we ask you to respond to these questions in 1 minute or less so we can get to several. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for final remarks. Now, please join me in welcoming our candidates and moderator. Anthony, it's all yours.
Welcome, thanks for being here. I'm glad to be here. I was a little late because I had to remember how to tie a tie. I worked at Bloomberg for 24 years. We used to wear these things, and I think the last time somebody wore a tie at Willamette Week was probably 1967. So I did it, though. I think it looks okay. We have to flip a coin right now. Are we going to do that? We didn't flip a coin to find out who was going to go first. So we're going to do this live. In person. This is pretty exciting stuff. Everybody, you might want to get a drink for this because I don't know how many coin flips you've seen in your day, but anybody have a coin anymore? We're going to flip a debit card.
Do you want to choose tails or heads?
Heads.
Heads. So if it is heads, you will get to decide if you want to go first.
Okay.
Oh.
So you get to decide if you want to go first or second.
I'll go second.
Okay. Shannon, go ahead.
Thank you so much. My name's Shannon for Multnomah County for District 2 because the county is the largest social service agency in the state, and it is long past due time for someone with experience and a track record of results to serve on this board. Growing up in Philadelphia with a single mom who often had to work multiple jobs to make ends meet, and watching her figure out how to choose which bill to pay depending on what time of the year it was, sometimes going without electricity because it was more important to make sure we had water and a roof over our heads. My mom also regularly asked me to give up my room so that somebody who was down on their luck could come and stay and save some money so they didn't have to pay rent so that they could actually afford to move into their own apartment. I learned that community takes care of each other. And eventually I went on to study social work at Temple University. And I've since spent an almost 30-year career moving people off the streets and into housing, supporting women and children leaving domestic violence situations, providing mental health services to people in crisis, and supporting youth in a foster care setting. I learned to create programs and policies that push against the status quo and the systems that have failed so many of us. I'm running because it is time to move past the politics of the past, the politics of division and chaos, to turn the page on politicians pointing fingers at each other and elect a collaborative leader who is ready to get things done and move us forward from day one with transparency, accountability, and hope. Thank you.
Thank you. Sam?
My name is Sam Adams. Thanks for being here tonight. Our county government lacks focus, urgency, strong partnership, and lacks accountability. Voters are beyond frustrated, and so am I. I know the county can do better, and that's why I'm running. We need change, and I'm glad for this debate because it gives an opportunity for Shannon and I to show where we agree and where we differ. Take homelessness. Shannon sued in court to remove the time, place, and manner ordinance that the City Council had passed that governs the regulation of camping. As a result, depending on where you live, you might have to get used to new neighbors on the street in a tent or an RV in front of your home. I believe her lawsuit was a big step backwards. The lawsuit is not evidence-based and is not compassionate either. Scattered camps make it impossible to provide effective services. And the county has had enough of these kinds of ideologically driven decisions. I use evidence-based solutions. I offer a comprehensive plan that includes a phased-in camping ban, better allocates the $700 million locally budgeted each year for homelessness, housing, mental illness, and addiction. And I've also detailed a plan to fast-track affordable housing production, which right now is at a dead stop. The differences between us on the homelessness issue presents a clear choice between going forward or backward. If you want a county that leans forward using evidence-based, compassionate, and accountable progress, I'd be honored to earn your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Is this mic okay? Is it too loud? You could probably hear me without it. I'm really a loud guy. Is it okay? It sounds a little, okay, fine. All right, well, you both are really lucky to represent District 2, which is the best district in the city.
Yay.
I live down the street, in case you couldn't tell. So, you represent North and Northeast Portland, from Argay Terrace to the east, to St. John's in the west, and Sullivan's Gulch in the south, and Hayden Island in the north, and the Gulf Stream waters and the New York Island. If elected, what is the first issue you will tackle for me and everybody else who lives here? Choose one and describe your plan of attack. And this is the hardest part of this job, is figuring out who goes first. And I have a guy who has signs out here now, it's Sam.
I think it's very clear to many North and Northeast Portlanders their concerns around homelessness, their concerns around affordable housing, their concerns about lawlessness and crime. I've touched on houselessness, and I'm sure we'll touch on it again. So I'll dig into a little bit of my proposal, which you can find online at multcoforsam.com, to get the city's, as I mentioned already, housing production, which is at a full stop practically, moving again. And it calls for, finally, despite a 2015 emergency ordinance that was headless in the sense that no one was appointed to be the, as we say in the trade, incident commander. No one was appointed to be the housing production czar. And we have languished in terms of housing production ever since. So first, appoint a housing production czar. This is an important part of the continuum of care for homelessness. After going through everything it takes to get off the street in many cases and to address issues in your life, to then have no place to go after that is really a crime of the system. The fact of the matter is that we're currently spending $700 million between Home Forward, between the City of Portland, between Multnomah County, locally budgeted $700 million this year. But it's being spent in a scattershot way, in a siloed way. That money needs to go on the table. We need to make a continuum out of it. We need to have one system of care so that we can track patients as they move through the process. And we need to have a report card that goes out to every address in the county to judge progress on this joint effort, not the individual silos.
Thank you. Shannon?
Thank you. I think that my opponent is talking a lot about what the city of Portland does, and I'm here to talk about what Multnomah County does. So my top priority will really be looking at the need for mental health and behavioral health services, both mental health and addiction, for our community members. And one of the things I've talked about on the campaign trail has been my work to start mental health street outreach program. It was the first in the community. It is not crisis response, we need that, but we actually also need the longer term mental health supports so that people can get off the streets, into housing, and into treatment. That's something that we have 4 workers to cover the entire county, and clearly that's not enough. So my first goal in being your next commissioner is to look at the things that we know work. There's also certain shelters that are more effective. We know those work. I want to put more money into the things that work and stop funding things that don't.
Thank you. Okay, so this question goes right back to you, Shannon.
Okay.
It's on the subject of county operations.
Okay.
You're running to join a commission that is run by the county chair, who controls most of the county staff, as I've learned in the last 6 months or so, since I went full-time on the county. It's amazing. Has veto power over what gets put on the agenda. Should your priorities or your district's priorities differ from the chair's, how will you be effective in that environment?
I think I'll be effective because I'm a collaborative leader. I know how to work with people who may disagree with me on things. I've never had an issue to date in getting anything on a county agenda while I was at the county, nor as an advocate in the community looking to have conversations with the board. I would expect to be able to do the same thing moving into this role. I believe commissioners share a lot of the same values, and if we just come back for a moment to those values and talk about what we want to do to serve our community and get our egos out of the way, I think we can really move some things forward. And so my goal is to work with every commissioner, not just the chair. I've worked with Julia in the past. I've worked with Commissioner Stegman, who I know will leave, but not before a little overlap with whoever wins this seat. I believe that I can work with the folks who are there to get things done. They have the same priorities around addressing our gaps in the homeless system, but what will be different is having somebody like me who has the expertise to help fill those gaps quickly.
Sam?
So I think that it's important, if we're going to change the county, and I think the electorate wants us to change the county, to change the way that it's being run at the top especially. When I talk about it lacking focus and urgency and good partnershiping and accountability, I'm talking about that top level, because within the organization, there's amazing talent among staff, among the staff leadership, and among the partners, the nonprofits that are partnered with the county. At the top, the chairs misusing the power that is allowed for under the charter. And so having 3 votes to take the county in a new direction is incredibly important, and I would be one of those votes to take the county in a new direction.
Okay, great. I'm going to spring a quick lightning round question here. It's one-word answer. It's a little gimmicky, so forgive me. But if you had to give Jessica Vega Peterson a letter grade for her tenure in office so far, what would you give her? And since it's a follow-up, we'll go to Shannon first, and we'll just keep that order for now.
I would give her a C.
Okay. Sam?
I would give her a D.
Okay. C and a D? Okay. All right. The next one goes to Sam. See, I got my guy out there. This next question, I know, right, is on deflection and drug abuse. You saw this one coming. Measure 110 passed overwhelmingly in 2020. It provides new funding for drug addiction treatment and recovery while decriminalizing possession of small amounts of drugs for personal use. This year, the Oregon legislature recriminalized personal possession starting this month, on the 1st of September. What role does the county have in addressing this crisis, the crisis of drug addiction in the city, and how would you do things differently than is being done now?
Well, I think it's important to note, in terms of things not working very well at the county, that the initial deflection proposal was wrong-headed and a disaster, to the point that it had to be reworked and then sped up. So reworked, sped up. And what we have in place right now is not the result of best practices. It's unique. We have good examples in Washington. There's a book published by the federal government that shows best practices. But for some reason, this county decided that it was going to come up with something truly exotic and unique. And I worry, like a lot of people worry, it won't work. And then where we're at. But if the chair had consulted with her commissioners ahead of time on the kinds of information that they wanted her office to gather in terms of best practices and kept the commissioners along for the conversation all the way through, I am absolutely certain that we would be in a much better position than we are right now. And that's the kind of esprit de corps, that's the kind of cultural change that needs to happen at the top of Multnomah County.
Okay. Shannon?
So I think the county plays a central role in behavioral health. We're a large provider in the community, and I think need to also work with the state, who has to be a major player in addressing behavioral health care in our community. I think that what I would do is really look at the full continuum of services. We previously had a detox center where you had to show up at 5 o'clock in the morning. If you didn't get in, you had to come back the next day, stand in line. If you didn't get in, you had to come back the next day, and then you could get a bed. And that didn't work either. I had way too many clients lose hope, lose faith, and stop showing up to try and get that bed. So we have to do both. We have to have something to deflect people to. We must address the lack of beds more largely in our community, and we also must address the number of people who are stuck in treatment beds because they can't afford an apartment and move out of those locations. So it is that continuum, and I think the county has a big role in addressing where the log jams are, as well as the lack of beds and providers for behavioral health care in our community.
Okay. Does everybody know about the Deflection Center? Is everybody reading your copies of Willamette Week? Okay, good. That's good. The Oregonians covered it too. So I want to make this just a 1-minute question, since you kind of hit this already, but it sounds like everybody knows that the county's building a deflection center in the Buckman neighborhood where police officers can take people who are arrested if they choose to do treatment instead of interact with the criminal justice system. And this has been a very controversial plan, as you know. A lot of other counties are not doing these bricks and mortar buildings to take people to. So I'm wondering, and so Multnomah County is a bit of an outlier there. Would you do, if you were in charge, would you do a brick and mortar building, or would you do something more with mobile units and existing facilities? Like I've heard about people trying to co-locate things in jails. And we're going to Shannon.
I think we both need the beds that are in the community, as well as the mobile units. I think that's a really great approach. I am absolutely not opposed to a brick and mortar, and again, that is because we continue to lack places for people to sober right now. There are far more people in need than number of beds that we have for them to get to. So I would really like to see a both-and approach as opposed to an either-or.
Okay.
And the only way we're going to get to that is by digging into that $700 million that is currently budgeted locally between the city, the county, and Home Forward for houselessness, housing, mental illness, and drug addiction. That's the only way. The continued piecemeal and siloed fragmentation of this entire effort limits our ability to dig into that $700 million, prioritize it accordingly, look for savings beyond reprioritizing, and put it into things other than the cul-de-sac, which is the Deflection Center, which needs to be done with the Sobering Center, but even those two will be just a bigger cul-de-sac until we go in and find the resources for the follow-on care. And there is no other way. There is no knight on a white horse that's going to come riding to our rescue. $700 million every year should give us a pretty good head start, but not if it's going to be continued to be managed piecemeal.
Okay, great.
Can I speak to that?
I think the rules are that if you,
Next question.
if you can use some of your time
Perfect.
during your response. Yeah,
Thank you.
sorry. Rules are
That's
rules.
okay.
City Club, they're very strict about this stuff. I just,
They'll
you don't
whip
believe
him-
me,
They'll
take a
whip
look
him
at that guy right
afterwards.
there.
But aren't you taking some of my time? No.
You're good. Okay, this one is, yeah, thank you. I want to ask so many follow-up questions because I'm a journalist. I'm like, what about this? But I feel like I'd bore the heck out of you people, so we'll let you answer your questions. Anyway, a lot of these questions are from City Club members, by the way, and they're really good. Okay, homelessness. Last month, the Multnomah County Sheriff Nicole Morrissey O'Donnell said she would not arrest people for violating the city's restrictions on when and where. Crowd pleaser here. When and where unhoused people can camp. Last month, she reversed her decision, saying that she would do so for at least 120 days to see if the approach is sustainable. Did the sheriff have her policy right the first time, or after she changed it, and why? And this goes to Sam, right? Yep.
I think her second policy was the right policy, and I understand why she would be reluctant, given the challenges in the jail already. But there has to be a portion of accountability that when someone is offered a shelter bed and refuses to take it after a number of warnings, there has to be some accountability for that. And so I think her second decision was the right decision. With that accountability, we can get the attention of some folks that need to see their life with some perspective, and I believe that that can help people respond to consequences.
Okay, thank you. Shannon?
So what my opponent is talking about here is actually punishment, and I think that the sheriff made the right decision the first time around. I believe in accountability, but accountability means repairing harm, restoring relationships, helping to integrate people into community, and really looking at ways that they can be constructive. That is not what jailing somebody for the crime of being without a home will do for our community. And making homelessness more illegal is not going to solve the problem for us. I really believe that we need to look at ways to get people into shelters, into housing, and into the support services that they need, and the jail has never been the right path for that, where cities have tried it many times before, and it continues to be ineffective. If it worked, I would be talking differently about it, but we've been shown that it doesn't work. I do want to speak briefly about, Sam keeps saying $700 million between Home Forward, the city, and the county. And I think it's really important that everybody understands that Home Forward's money is currently going to house thousands of families in our community and children in our community. And rebudgeting that is not going to change the fact that those families and those households still need an apartment. And so there is no rebudgeting to be done with those funds. I'm not really sure where those folks would go.
Okay, thank you. All right, another housing question. Which big city in America, and you can't say Houston because it's ironic, but Houston is the darling right now for this. Everybody
I'm going to
says
say Houston.
Houston is doing the right thing because they're housing a lot of people, but you
So
can build
get
anything
prepared there,
in Houston anywhere you want. I've been there. You been there? So we're going to take Houston off the table and say, which other city in America is doing a good job of getting people into housing? And what ideas have you seen there that could work here?
Well, you've got some more time to think since we're not allowed to say Houston, even though it is Houston.
All right, it's Houston.
It is, and what Houston was able to do just looks different than what we're able to do as far as housing production has gone. But another place that is doing well is the county of Milwaukee. They have really looked at how to provide a continuum of services from the streets through to permanent supportive housing and make sure that people are able to get into that pipeline quickly. I have a lot more to unpack with what they're doing, so I'm not going to say I know all of their data, but that is one of the communities that I've been looking at further.
Okay. Sam?
I'm going to say Houston because it's America and I can say what I want. The part about Houston that I think is is less noted is the effort that they took to really segment, combine, and put the puzzle pieces together in terms of their services. It is absolutely true, based on everything I know, the housing piece, and they do have some advantages on cost that we don't have. But what they also did, again, was to map. At one point, they mapped everything they were doing and looked at how it was lumpy because decisions were made in a siloed basis. Same thing we're doing with that $700 million. And housing is a key piece of the homelessness continuum. Don't assume, because I want everything looked at and managed as a continuum and as a unit, that things in every single piece of, every dime and every quarter will change. The point is to look at where all the money's going and does it make sense in terms of, is there enough in prevention? Is there enough in recovery? And to actively manage that over time. The fatal flaw with the joint office is it doesn't manage much other than its own growing, but own money. What we need is, if Dan Field, his position is elevated to housing czar, and you come to the table with Dan and his team, the mapping has been done thanks to Eco Northwest. The continuum has been discussed for a very long time. Now match the two, make the changes, and make sure that there is this connection. The fact that homeless people, according to the auditor, have to apply 4 different times to make sure they're getting all the possible resources is just exemplifies this sort of scattershot, siloed process that we have, and it's got to change.
Watch out. That's a city club member down there, and they don't mess around.
I know Carla.
I don't want
to
to get hurt here.
She's tough.
I appreciate your answers on that. The correct answer was Denver. I'm from Colorado and originally been here a long time. But if you haven't been to Denver, they're doing some really interesting things. They've housed a lot of people. Friends who live there say things are going great, and they have a lot less graffiti than we do. So just a little pitch for the home state. That was probably not allowed.
I thought you were making the rules. Sorry. You're making the rules.
I'm in charge. Al Haig. Okay. Now I'm dropping things. All right. It's time for the Daily Double. No, that's the wrong game show. Okay, let's do. It's 6:05. We're going to do a lightning round. Everybody ready? You braced? Strap in, because this gets crazy. You might want to stand up for this and put on the costumes that we assigned you earlier. I'm going to change into my chipmunk outfit. And okay, lightning round. We're going to do this in the order of Sam. Sam, you're first on this.
Lightning round means just one-word answer.
Well, this is one area where we have a little leeway, but just keep it, brief.
Okay.
Okay. An old friend visits you from out of town, probably from Denver, which is doing great on homelessness. Where is the first place you take them in your district, and then where do you go to Denver?
Wow.
Where do you go to dinner?
How much have you been drinking?
I only had like 3 other whiskeys back there. Go on.
You're doing great. I would take them 3 places. I'd start at Kelly Point Park because it's like this hidden gem where you get to watch the Willamette and the Columbia confluence. It's amazing. North Portland, nearby, probably the Oregon Modern on Interstate, and then Gado Gado in Hollywood.
Okay. All right. Shannon?
I would take them to Cathedral Park, particularly. I'm from St. John, so that's where I'm living now. And then I would go down to Mosaic. They have some absolutely delicious Vietnamese food right now.
Nice. Everybody taking notes on this? This does not constitute a restaurant review.
That is a good.
This is just a debate. Okay, the next lightning round question goes to Shannon. If your cell phone ring could be any song right now, what song would it be? Or maybe it is a song.
It isn't a song, but it would probably be Not Like Us.
Say more.
Kendrick Lamar, Not Like Us.
All right, all right. Sam?
Bittersweet Symphony by The Verve.
Okay, all right. For people who are familiar, we'll just leave that there. I feel culturally incompetent right now. So we'll move on. I do recognize the names of both those artists. Which county commissioner today or from the past is a role model for you as you seek this position? And that's Sam.
I don't know if she was ever an actual county commissioner, but it would be Bev Stein. I think she might have gone right to chair. I can't remember. She went right to chair. So I'm going to go with Bev Stein because technically she's county commissioner. I would say beyond that, Judy Shiprack, Diane McKeel.
Okay, all right. Shannon?
I've got a couple of folks on this one. Former Commissioner Lotta Smith, who I think has done an amazing job of representing the district and making sure to stay connected to our community when she served as our commissioner. Additionally, I do think Deborah Kafore was extremely adept at getting things done and really focusing and prioritizing housing when we were at a time begging for money for people to pay attention to homelessness.
Okay, great, perfect. If I were going to be a talk show host or I would be Conan O'Brien because I have the same forehead. That's my answer. Okay.
That was a different question.
All right, now we're going to do public safety and crime. Boy, it's just a tour of blight here tonight. We've had a number of horrific dog attacks in Multnomah County this year, including one that cost a woman her arm here in District 2. Terrifying story. Is Multnomah County's dangerous and potentially dangerous dog program, which ranks the animals from 1 to 4 in degrees of hazard, working? And this goes to Shannon.
I think there's a lot of challenges that Animal Services has writ large. I'm really invested in hearing from the folks on the front line. I'm sorry, is this a lightning round still?
No, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, yes or no? No, go on, sorry. Take extra time.
So I think that it's really, I want to hear from the folks on the front line of that work to understand what needs to happen to actually implement, fully implement the audit recommendations for the Animal Services Division.
Okay. Sam?
I would add to that answer that I don't know if it's a advisory committee, oversight committee, that is focused on making sure that the audit findings move forward and the previous audit findings are also captured and move forward as well. I've heard a lot from that constituency, and they feel like they have been shut out. So in addition to obviously consulting with the workers in that area, I think the advocates and the users should be part of that discussion on an ongoing basis until audits come back that things are operating in a manner that we should expect an important government agency to operate like.
Okay, great. All right, moving right along to more cheery topics. Is the county doing enough to make the critical energy infrastructure hub? If you don't know what that is, it's all those big tanks on the Willamette that are all going to like explode in an earthquake. Is the county doing enough to make those safer in the event of the earthquake that everybody says is going to happen like next week? And if elected, what will this be on your agenda and how will you tackle it? And this is Sam.
So, having lived and looked at this issue for years, I think the most immediate need, there are two immediate needs that I would, whether it's as a direct regulator or as the bully pulpit, as an elected official on the county board, would be to make sure that there are better containment walls, and then the tanks that we see, a good portion of them are actually unfilled and will never be filled. And those tanks are especially dangerous in an earthquake in terms of their ability to rattle around and impact and degrade tanks that do have oil and gas and other things in them. So get rid of, decommission, and get rid of the empty tanks, and then have better containment in the short term.
I have to ask this follow-up. How many of those tanks are empty?
I forget the percentage, but it's a fair amount, and some of them are really, really old.
So the empty ones are dangerous too.
Yeah, because they're going to rattle around and hit the ones that are full of stuff.
So much for that solution. Okay, Shannon.
Thank you. I think with the CEI hub, the county, I know, has started some conversations around risk bonding, which doesn't get us all the way there to safety, right? But that is an important step. Really, this is a statewide issue from my perspective. This is fuel that serves the entire state of Oregon. I know that Representative Nelson is looking at what we can do around a study bill, but study bills don't get us to safety. And so I think we also need to be working with our colleagues at the state to really make sure that we find safety for folks and decide what we're going to do with the CEI hub. And I think particularly on the front end, what I'm hearing from the community who lives around the CEI hub is that they have a lot of concerns about multiple types of natural disasters and their inability to have any evacuation route. And so I think that's something we can address immediately as a county.
Okay, great. Thank you. How we all doing out there? Right? Good so far? You still got some more energy for this? Do you need to go get a drink or anything? Okay. All right. Last chance. All right. We're going to go on to a couple more kind of dreary topics, and then we'll go. It'll get lighter. Trust me. Okay, Shannon. This one goes to you. Taxes. Told you. Woo! There's ample evidence that people are leaving what used to be a real people magnet, which is Portland and Multnomah County. Many of those leaving are high earners, and many complain the county's taxes are too high. Portland has the highest business taxes in America. I just saw a report on this. It's unbelievable. When you add up Portland, Multnomah County, and everything else, it gets up there. That's for C Corps, for you accounting geeks out there. And it's got the second highest top marginal rate on wage income. Do you agree that Multnomah County taxes are too high? And if so, which ones would you cut? And this goes to, I can never remember, Shannon.
Thank you.
See what I mean?
Because it's the last person who spoke. It's counterintuitive.
I know, and I told that myself. I said that to myself before I came in here, and I still can't get it right. I have the memory of like a guinea pig. Go on. No offense to guinea pigs.
So with taxes, I really think it's important that we look at the taxes that we are collecting and spend them accurately. I continue to hear from folks on the ground, both about preschool for all and supportive housing services measure, that there are gaps that are not being addressed in this system, and the need is clearly there. So I want to work as county commissioner to address the gaps that are being identified by the parents in this community, as well as the child care providers, and with our supportive housing services for the gaps that I spoke about earlier regarding ending homelessness work. So that's really where my focus would be, while at the same time I think we can ensure that there isn't an overdue burden on taxpayers, but we need to be spending what folks are paying now and accomplishing the goals that they voted on.
Okay.
I would look at the fact that we've got the early childhood levy, we've got Sun Schools, we've got preschool for all. At the city side, we have the arts tax, which is arts education. I would look at those as a unit to see if there's opportunities for synergy or reducing the overall cost. I agree with the delay on the preschool for all. That seems to sort of been a straw that broke the camel's proverbial back for a lot of folks. I agree with delaying the increases. I do agree with indexing it to inflation. But I also think since each one of these were implemented over years, I think decades, that looking at as a unit to see if we can get more from the existing resources through synergies, that right now they're all just happening individually and separately.
Okay. Did either of you say if somebody said, you got to cut something, would you, let's go back to Shannon just for a quick 1 minute or so. Is there one that, am I pushing too hard on this, or is there?
No, I'm
no?
just.
Okay, good.
No, you're not pushing too hard. I think that there's, I know that Julia has brought forward a desire to have conversations about it. I think that I don't have enough information to say which thing I would cut, but it's something that I welcome conversations with. And again, I know that Julia's been bringing that forward for the county commission to discuss. So that would be where I would like to go, is to actually hear the details of all the different taxes and what's happening and what they're paying for, so we can be really thoughtful and make informed decisions.
Okay, Sam?
And the early childhood levy that was put in place in the, I want to say, 90s, and then the preschool for all, 2 separate initiatives. I think there's an opportunity there for synergies, and if there's, with those synergies, we can reduce the tax, yeah.
Okay.
But I want to look at both together.
Okay, so would either of you like to say, read my lips, no new taxes, or read my lips, what's the Portland equivalent? Okay, thanks for that, thank you. Okay, one more, we're gonna talk about climate change for a minute. After a rather hot July and a cooler August. It falls to the county to open cooling shelters during heat waves. What else should Multnomah County be doing to help residents, especially those in East Portland, the elderly, and the most vulnerable, deal with the heat effects of climate change? And this goes to Sam.
I think that the Portland Clean Energy Fund is on the right path in terms of their air conditioning program. I think the challenge there is sometimes getting out to all the people that don't feel like they will be vulnerable, that actually are vulnerable. So that outreach is really key on that. And then as time progresses, and if we don't make, thanks to President Biden, we're going to have more investments to ensure the security of our electrical grid. But we then are going to have more cooling centers on the chance that if the grid doesn't improve in terms of its security and goes down in a heat storm. So that's, the city is looking at schools and other parks facilities that can serve as sort of centralized cooling centers for not only the elderly, but for other vulnerable populations when it gets hot.
Okay. Shannon?
For starters, I think the city should come back to the table and be a partner in that sheltering. I used to run severe weather contract when I was at Portland Housing Bureau, and it was just a city-run program that the county didn't participate in. And then I had the opportunity to experience it at the county when it was all county agencies, departments working together to do that. So it used to be just homeless service providers and not really anybody else participating, and we've kind of lost that camaraderie that I saw throughout the COVID pandemic of the entities working together to staff those shelters, because we know that they closed at times where they could have and should have stayed open. Additionally, when it comes to climate change, I think that we have to look at our heat deserts and be really targeted in our investments. The county also has funds that go into air conditioning units. There's ways to utilize and leverage Medicaid funds to make sure that people have fans or air conditioners or things that they need to stay healthy in sort of heat domes. So that's something that I think we should be sure that we're really targeting more specifically. Right now it's kind of a get on a wait list because there aren't enough, and I'd like to see us be really thoughtful and intentional about that. I also would like us to really look at opportunities to leverage some of the infrastructure projects happening in our community. We have opportunities to connect bike and ped paths in a way that we never have before, and there's multiple projects here that can't just be focused on road, but must also be looking at how are we increasing walkability for people, what are the transit-oriented development opportunities that we can get out of some of these projects in partnership with Metro and TriMet. So I really want to look at that big picture and think about regionally how are we addressing this issue, and those are just some of the ideas that I would start with.
Okay, great, terrific. All right, we're gonna do one more lightning round, and then we're gonna have a final question, and then we're gonna go to the audience. I hope you guys have you folks have some good questions. So the lightning round, this goes to Shannon. Peninsula Park or Wilshire Park?
Peninsula.
Sam?
Peninsula.
They're unanimous on this issue. We've found agreement. Any other candidates out there want to weigh in on this? Okay, no? Okay. Okay, this goes to Sam. Guilty pleasure television show.
The Sandman.
The Sandman.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't watched it.
It's
I had COVID 3 weeks ago, and I binged like a whole bunch of, say, I do this all the time. Ozark. Ozark, anyone? How about you, Shannon?
That one's a good one. I think mine would be, I'm very much into a bunch of The Walking Dead. I know I'm late to the game, but I'm watching that now.
No one's later than me on this stuff, trust me. I mean, I just got into Ozark a month ago. Come on.
Yeah, fair.
All right. Trait, this is Shannon now. Trait described by your astrological sign that actually fits you. Who writes this stuff?
I think it's like conviction.
What's your sign?
Capricorn?
Is it?
Yeah.
What's your sign? Capricorn?
Yeah,
All right. All right.
that tracks.
Is that your husband?
Conviction. Okay.
That was my friend who said that, yeah.
Sam?
I'm a Virgo, just had a birthday. Relentless.
All right. Any Virgos in the house? Woo! All right. I'm a Virgo too, and I would say that that my trait is neurotic. I don't know, but there's other. Yeah.
I'd be worried about that trait.
Yeah, I'm a little worried too. No, but I also say organized and fastidious. How's that? Okay, you don't care. All right. All right. Outside of the St. John's Bridge, which I assume is a fan favorite for both of you, which is your favorite Portland bridge? We're getting into the really hardcore questions now.
Well, I'm
This
biased.
will make or break your candidacy.
I'm biased because I was transportation commissioner when we built it with TriMet, the Tillicum Bridge.
Yeah. Okay. Tillicum fans? Tillicum? Yes? Woo! Lit up, new, okay.
I'm gonna have to go with Selwood. It was the first, I lived in that area. It was the first place that I really spent any time traveling back and forth from work to home in Portland. So it's my first kind of parlay into Bridgeland.
Okay. All right. Those are great answers. Again, they're both incorrect. The correct answer is the Steel Bridge. Where else do you see something like that? But in Portland, come on. Steel Bridge, anybody? No? Okay. Yes? Okay. Ow! Yeah. Okay. So that's it for those. Final question that I have, and then we're going to go to our audience. This is under the category of general, and this goes to Shannon. Finally, on the last question, I call the person's name first. What is your elevator pitch for Portland and Multnomah County? We used to have Keep Portland Weird, but our candidate for vice president, yeah, Mr. Walls is, that's changed now.
Yeah,
I'm
weird
not
has
sure
new
that's
meaning.
how we should, yeah. So that might not be good. So what's your sort of, what would you put in place of that? An idea to get you started, maybe high taxes but high times, psilocybin, I don't know, mushrooms forever, just spitballing here.
I'm gonna say move Portland forward.
Okay, all right. Sam?
Dreamers, doers, and draft beer. Come visit. Choose one. Or more.
So it's multiple choice.
Yeah.
And there's an all of the above. Okay.
Want a big crowd to show up.
All right, I lied. I got one more question. It's a little harder. Okay, so I softened everybody up here. This is the last question, then we'll go to group. Sam, why are you the better candidate for District 2, and how would a voter differentiate you from your opponent?
What's required to get the county moving forward and back on track is someone that has experience with bringing people together, to make big changes that, in this case, involve very complex bureaucracies. And the labor issues and the budget issues that are attendant with that. And all the interscene laws that govern every bureaucracy. That's a skill that I have uniquely in this race at the level of change that, and the scale of change that needs to happen. The other is, these are shared systems between the city and the county, especially in the area of human health, especially in the area of community safety. And I, with a very new, brand spanking new city council, at least in Portland, and knowledge and relationships in other cities in the county, can be a bridge between the county and cities that, again, rely on each other for their individual success. I uniquely can bring that. I uniquely bring that with my candidacy.
Okay. Shannon?
So I'm the right candidate for this position for District 2 because I am the only candidate with experience of doing the work that the county actually implements. I also have experience of being in bureaucracy, of being in elected offices as staff. I know how to get things done and how to work with people collaboratively and with respect to move things forward. I'm that person who can step in from day one and really, I don't have to spend time unpacking the budget on homeless services. I know exactly where the gaps are. I've already spent time looking at the budget, and I know exactly where we should move our dollars to from the day I get there.
Okay, great. All right, so let's go to the audience now, and I'm going to step down here with a mic. How do we want to do this, City Club enforcers? Okay, hang on. All right, here we are. We're getting like nice and intimate here. Come on over.
All right, excellent, thank you. Hello there, everybody. This is a question you'll probably hear a lot this cycle. Portland metro area is aging faster than other parts of this nation. So we'd like to know, in your new role as county commissioner, how would you work to ensure that Multnomah County is a great place for people to live as they age? AARP Oregon asking that question.
Woo! Yeah. And this goes to Shannon. Yeah, Shannon first. Yeah, be careful.
So for folks to be able to age in place, I think it's really about, again, working with people who are doing, working with the seniors on the front lines and understanding what some of the needs are. One of the things I know that we see is far too many people falling into homelessness because they are living on a fixed income in Social Security and are unable to pay their rent for the long term. One example I will give you is a woman who was 80 years old who was living in her car because she lost her apartment when her husband passed away and she didn't have enough money with her one check to pay her rent. That kind of stuff is unconscionable, and we cannot continue to allow our seniors to be on the streets without support to move back inside and stay inside so they can be healthy and thriving.
Thank you. Sam?
Compared to other cities, including Eugene, where I went to high school, I think Multnomah County is anemic in terms of offering enough services to seniors. And one additional sort of service I believe to make room for, and that is senior centers, places for people to go during the day. We already talked about the changes, that will come with climate change. But also loneliness is just epidemic, not only here, but across the world. I would work to find resources, to look into the $4 billion budget, to find resources to make sure that life for our senior citizens is more enjoyable and more connected to, if they have family here, more connected, allowing for more connections with their family, but with each other, and to really combat this epidemic of loneliness. It's an anemic amount of services that this county provides seniors compared to other counties in Oregon.
Thank you. All right.
I'd like to start with the fact that there was 150 million to 175 million left in the Joint Office of Homeless Service budget at the end of the year. And we've heard a lot from Shannon about gaps. And, you know, I kind of start where Sam does on systems need, having an overview. We got, Metro says there's 116 nonprofits who are getting some of the money in the 3-county area. Can there be evaluation? What are the gaps that need to be filled? Shouldn't we be spending that $150 million that wasn't spent last year?
Thank you. I've been instructed to make sure you have a question, and you know, yeah. Sam.
Homelessness is an emergency. We need to treat it like the emergency that it is. Instead of having dozens of people in charge across multiple jurisdictions, we need one person in charge with the kind of advisory group that includes not only folks that are direct reports to the homelessness czar, but others from the outside that can provide the kind of lived experience. So, but it all starts with we are wasting so much money, $700 million, by doing this in such a scattershot, piecemeal fashion right now. And no one can refute that because there is no one person in charge. There are dozens of people in charge. You need to dig into that, the money overall, compared to the continuum, make the kind of reordering necessary, look for programs that aren't as important as others, make the cuts.
Okay, thank you. All right, all the rest of these questions. Oh, thank you. Shannon.
Thank you. It's a great question, and I'm as frustrated as other folks are about the lack of spending. I will say when I was at the Joint Office, I went through the work to purchase buildings, land where people could car camp, buildings for shelter, hotel that was used as shelter with the eventual ability to convert it into housing, and the idea that money went sitting on the table, but that shelter in East County was still not opened. The car camping shelter was not opened, and nothing was done to look at converting any of those hotel spaces into permanent housing. That's what I would do with funds when they're left over like that, is we can really look at capital investments and one-time opportunities to make sure that we're addressing those needs across the county.
Thank you. Okay, because of time, your question has to be a haiku. Go.
Perfect. 575, right?
Yeah.
That's the haiku? Okay.
Good.
Yeah. Luckily, I've been studying this for years. So my name's Hillary Zest. I'm the vice president for Ask Me Local 88. We endorsed Shannon in this race. And our union represents nearly 4,000 members. Some of those members right now are experiencing... I've got the question. I'm ready. Some of our members are experiencing unprecedented levels of dangerous work situations, high trauma, and huge amounts of turnover. As an ex-county commissioner, what would you do to support frontline workers who are experiencing traumatic events in the workplace?
Thank you. Shannon.
Thank you for that question. I think that we need to start with making workplaces safe for people. What I hear from nurses in corrections is different than what I hear from folks in our clinics, and so we need to be addressing the safety needs of each individual space for what it is. In corrections, it might be that there needs to be more sheriffs on duty to actually for them to be able to provide treatment to acute patients. And in a clinic, it means that people need to be able to safely get from their car to work. And I've heard people say simply, we need parking is a big thing that would go a long way. In addition to that, we need to provide the treatment and services for people to deal with that trauma. We can't be expecting folks to just keep showing up at work as if nothing happened. And so how do we look at opportunities for trauma leave or other policies that will support workers' ability to stay in the work for the long term?
Thank you. Sam?
You know, in talking to workers in Multnomah County, I'm surprised at how members of the board have never shown up in the workplace to ask, how are things going? And so when budgets come forward for that workplace, when other plans come forward for that particular workplace, and the board members have not spent time face-to-face with workers, it shows. They can't do the job that I think they were elected to do. So that's one thing. The second thing is regular meetings with the union leaders. So you hear directly in the workplace, and then you also hear from the people that they've elected to represent them on issues of concern in the workplace. And then I spend a lot of time on whether it's shadowing folks, ride-alongs, those kinds of things. All of that is critically important, I believe, to be a good elected official.
Thank you. Okay.
What would you do to fight human trafficking, especially sex trafficking, and what have you done in the past?
Thank you. Sam.
So when I was mayor, worked closely with Diane McKeel, who made this issue one of her key cornerstone issues when she was county commissioner, and I would pick up where we left off on that work. And I would work with community advocates like you and others. It's a horrific issue that it happens so frequently in our community. People have no idea.
Shannon?
So in the past, I've run shelter services for women, and we very regularly had people coming through who were either trying to escape trafficking or that we were able to support in moving out of that extremely dangerous situation. That work, I think, on the ground there's a lot of collaboration amongst providers, and I've been really happy to see there be increased investments so that more crisis services can be provided to people, and folks are able to have somebody who they have connection with and relationship with that can support them out of that situation. And I think as county commissioner, I would do the same. I would continue to listen to the folks on what they need who are on the front lines of this, as well as the people who are being trafficked, to make sure that they're able to move into safety.
Thank you. All right, next question for Shannon. You have to do this in the form of a rhyming couplet. So it has to be, okay, go.
Hi, my name is Hannah. I run the Sunnyside Shower Project, and we have a number of guests who've gotten housing vouchers over the past couple of years, but they're about to expire. And I want to know, as county commissioner, and they can't work for whatever reason because of mental disabilities or drug addiction, I'm afraid they're going to go back out on the street when their housing vouchers expire. What would you do as county commissioner to help keep them in housing however you can?
So I'm assuming the voucher is something that's either it's a year or not a long-term situation. And I really think that we have got to look at long-term rent assistance, whether that is through our HUD vouchers, if there's vouchers that we can connect to people to keep them inside, we should do that, or whether that's our local dollars for long-term rent assistance. I also was able to pass at the state, working with Republicans and Democrats alike, to move forward and pass a bill for youth exiting institutions for long-term rent assistance. And that bill was written so that we could expand it to additional populations. And I think this is exactly what we need to do, is go back to the state and continue to ask for them to invest in this community as well and ensure that people don't lose their housing.
Thank you. Sam.
Again, dig into that $700 million that is currently being budgeted. We can wish for handouts, new handouts, and that would be nice to have, and we should continue to pursue those. But the fact of the matter is, locally budgeted among 3 organizations is $700 million. And I just want to tie it back to an issue earlier where the camp where you want policy, which is really what is produced when you go to court to bring down the city's time, place, and manner, is very expensive. It is very expensive to be chasing camps around the 220 square miles that is Multnomah County. So part of the reason to have more managed camping is to reduce the cost so we have some savings so that we can help others stay in the housing they already are in. We also have a waiting list. When I did a recent tour, we have a waiting list of 8,000 members to get into housing as well. I won't stop until I feel like that $700 million is being reasonably wisely spent.
Okay, thank you. This next question will be, it's our last one. It's going to be for Sam, and there's a new rule. Everybody has to drink every time Sam says 700 million. And it's retroactive.
You're gonna be drunk.
I hope everybody, you line up.
Yeah, I've been teaching 28 years, and when I started, it was $25K. I had no family wealth, and I was priced out and almost homeless. And in my hand, I'm going to pass you a renter's bill of rights. This is sweeping cities. Over a dozen candidates in Portland have supported it. Will you sign on to the pledge to support a renter bill of rights? Because more housing without a renter bill of rights is like more voting machines without a voter's bill of rights. And if you have a question with any of these that recuses you, you're too picky, will you call me about the details of those 9 items? So will you support the renter bill of rights? And if you won't, will you call me to talk about your objections?
Thank you. Sam.
I'll take a look at it and give you a call.
Is that your only answer?
Yeah.
That's why you won't be elected.
I will call you because I do have concern about one that we looked at when I was at the state with Governor Brown that may not be able to be implemented, so I will give you a call to talk about that one, but the others in the Renters Bill of Rights I do support.
Okay. Time for closing statements. Shannon goes first. Whenever you're ready.
Thank you so much. Thank you for emceeing, hosting. It was kind of a bit of both. And thank you, City Club, for hosting this debate tonight and everybody for coming out to listen to us. There's a real choice in this election, and I, like many others, am tired of the finger pointing that continues to happen. It is time to turn the page on the politics of chaos and politics of the past, and to move and elect a commissioner who can take us forward to be the community that we want to be that lives our values. And I am that candidate. I have the personal, educational, and professional experience on the front lines of the issues that the county addresses. I know what works, where the gaps are, and how to fill them. I'm the candidate who can move the county forward into a future where we live our values, and one who can collaborate with people who I disagree with while focusing on our charge to serve our community and find solutions without ego, disrespect, or bullying. I know we can push against the status quo and politics of the past and move our community forward. And I am ready to do that from day one for the people of District 2 and for the people of Multnomah County. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have clear differences. I'll just summarize 3. 1, in terms of free-for-all camping versus regulated camping. There's a big difference there between us. In terms of the housing crisis, I've laid out a very detailed plan. You can go to multcoforsam.com and view it. I'm the only one in this race that has taken the time to do that. Those 2 issues, obviously homelessness and housing, are totally intertwined. And we didn't really get a chance to talk about public safety, but we have a very big difference right here. About 30% of the jail is not being used, and we are seeing cases dismissed for lack of public defenders and district attorneys. I will dig into that $4 million that is the county's budget and find the resources to open more jail beds. Potentially, we can open a deflection center there as well, potentially. And to fund more public defenders and district attorneys to speed up the criminal justice system. These are times when we need big changes and big solutions to our problems. The days of tweaking, the days of going backwards and simply doing more of the same with slight changes, those days are over. We are at a tipping point as a community, and it requires somebody who knows how to take on these massive controversial problems that, yes, are controversial, and to bring people together and move forward, knowing that moving forward is also changing some very complex and big bureaucracies and on top of that, has to include the partnership with the cities in the county as well. I offer that uniquely, and I would be honored to have your support.
Thank you. All right, so thanks to our candidates and to City Club and to AARP for sponsoring tonight's debate. And I learned last time that you can join AARP anytime. You don't have to wait until you're 59 like me. So that's out there for all of us. Sorry, what? You can join at 18. At 18, you can join at 18, which was good news to me. I don't know why I haven't been a member since. There's another debate tomorrow night. You might have heard about it. It's some presidential thing or something. You civic-minded people, I'm sure, will all be watching that, and I want to thank everybody for coming out here in real life, or IRL, as the kids say. The thousands who are watching on video are also enjoying this too, but I think there's a real value in getting together and having a civic discourse. So thank you very much. Yeah.